you so much, Akshay. Uh, hello everyone. I'm really interested and glad to see you all here. We have an audience of about 300 odd people who registered today, including all industry leaders between large enterprises like Unilever, Reckitt, I have Jyoti Laboratories, Parle Agro, Bridgestone, Honeywell, Tata, Mahindra. So it looks like in the tough times like today, pretty much every one of us is looking answers for how to keep the supply chains open to reach out to our specific consumers. And I think our panel today might be able to just answer some of those questions. These are the guys who are literally bringing food and beverages to our homes in these tough times through a mom and pop retail and other retail channels. So first of all, thank you for all of you guys to actually literally bring food and beverages to our homes. Uh, the second interesting thing about our panel today, before I go into more details, is that all of them represent innovation, Indian innovation or Indian entrepreneurship. All three of them represent Indian brands. Pradeep here represents Prash Marketing or BL Agro, selling commodities under brands like Nourish and as well as Belkolu. Denver here is a beverage veteran. He represents Ocean Beverages. Ocean Beverage also sells beverages under Virat Kohli's 1-8 brand in general. And then we have Kartikeya here. Kartikeya represents Unibic. Unibic is literally a category defining product. They literally brought cookies as a category to India and growing phenomenally, continuously. All three of them bring in phenomenal insights into that. When I talk about Indian entrepreneurship, the other part of Indian entrepreneurship is actually the mom and pop retailer, the friendly neighborhood kirana shop. Those are other guys who have shown extreme innovation to keep their shops open and running even during these tough times. Most of the things, all three of them utilize or leverage technology to essentially make sure their supply chains remain open and we as consumers get served in spite of the pandemic situation as well as the lockdown kind of situations. We call this method internally as an algorithmic jugaad as a method. So essentially, jugaad is a innovation done at periphery, or rather frugal innovation done at periphery. And Mangalyaan is a great example of algorithmic jugaad, for example. And algorithms is the way to bring some sort of a structure for scale into those jugaads. The technologies, the digital, all of that allow these brands to put that structure into those innovations to scale them at large. So let's hear from them. I will ask each of them questions, and then we generally thought about as a format as we're discussing pre-COVID or pre-lockdown situations, then during lockdown situations, and post-lockdown situations. And I think all three of them have very, very interesting insights to share with us. So, panel, if I may start with you guys, I will start from with KM on a pre-lockdown kind of a scenario. So, KM, in your category, we did not see, while we see a lot of surge or other what you call it as panic buying in the week when there was a Janta curfew announced, which was a pre-lockdown week. So somewhere around 20th of March, we had Janta curfew, which was announced by our PM. And in that week, we saw a lot of panic buying across categories. But in your category, we did not see that much of panic buying. Do you know why and what you actually did as a brand to anticipate the lockdown and other stuff even before COVID, that you were able to leverage or rather even operate during lockdown and days and beyond?
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much, Lalit, for hosting us here. And thank you very much for 194 right now, live people listening it out. For biscuits, so basically biscuit comes in between need and want. So any such situation where you have, the fear of tomorrow, normally needs are first collected. So needs comes staples. So I'm sure Pradeep would have seen a big sort of buying. The staples are the one which will actually get the first space, and then when it comes into want, we are in between need and want. So when it comes on something like biscuit as a category, the large packs are the first consumed, large and value for money packs. So if you see today, probably Parle-G would not have much stock across India, because that's something which will be bought first. Okay, we come after that because we go slightly into the want category. However, we realize that what is going to happen during this time is there is going to be a massive buying for the value packs, and we will definitely get our chance. So we were waiting for it. Okay, whatever stock was there with our distributors across, we asked them whichever is the nearest possible outlet where they can service it or they can take a phone call order, they should service it. Okay, and that gave us the immediate jump. In the after first week, we were able to manage it. Still, supply chain is an issue, but overall, that first week was basically to understand the new normal. So this is a new normal. Probably it is going to be there for some more time. Okay, so first week we invested our time to understand what is the new normal and how we should react it. It would work. The new normal for us is working on 15-20% kind of efficiencies, but thanks to panic buying, we have our stakes and share in these 15-20 days time.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Very, very
that's from
interesting.
me.
I'll come to you. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'll come to you then. So
Yeah.
Denver, in your business, similarly to pre-lockdown, actually, especially for Ocean, we saw a definite panic buying pattern. I mean, your sales went up fairly strongly before or in the week of Janta curfew, before lockdown started happening. How do you explain that consumer behavior? And another same question is, what did you do in terms of company to prepare for lockdown and situations beyond?
So, hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Lalit. So we did see in terms of beverages prior to the lockdown happening, we did see a lot of sale from trade sale, which is secondary sale from a lot of our stores. I think the reason for that as well is not that we're a needed product. It was more that we were a wanted product, and we were available at the right touch points at that point of time. So I think being available at the right touch points was very important. So that essentially happened at that point of time, and then post that, however, once the Janta curfew set in, it was not a pleasant picture. I'm sure your data also will indicate the same, Lalit. We were struggling for numbers and consumers, and obviously it's like what KM as well said. People first essentially were looking at the essential items, picking up the needed products, and said, okay, look, this is what we need. So to explain, we were available. But then after that, in that first couple of weeks, we had enough of stock and we had our teams out there. But obviously, we took a conscious call as well to pull our sales teams as well from the market. Safety was paramount. And we obviously put in place the right IT infrastructure to get ready for once things opened up. But it was a jolt to the system, obviously, because as a category, we're not priority one in terms of what consumers want, right? In terms of beverages, it was more just plain water, and that was it.
Very, very interesting. Okay. Interestingly, March was also a month when there was a lot of festivities. I think Holi, and then there was all this Baisakhi and other festivities coming up, right? So Pradeep, in your category, I'm sure you definitely saw panic buying behavior. I mean, your sales would have gone up like 100% or maybe even more than that, right? So how did you cater to that? Did you anticipate as a company that there is going to be a panic buying in March due to festivities, and that allowed you to stock better, or what exactly did you do to prepare for that kind of behavior?
Hi everyone. Thank you, Lalit. Uh, see, actually, for us, every time you have, I mean, the pre-Holi rush is where what becomes a little critical. for us, the primary product which we have is the mustard oil.
Yeah.
And when we look at mustard oil, most of the sales did happen pre-Holi, but after that there was a slight dip. The dip is also because of the session in which you have. I mean, this is a time when the crop is supposed to come, so you are almost at the fag end of the stock of the mustard seeds. So the mustard rates are always a higher. It's a very sensitive, price sensitive commodity. So most of these dip in sales was there initially early in March. Obviously, there was a tremendous amount of panic buying, but this panic buying does not make uh, the sales boost drastically because you are not able to complete it. You're not getting the raw material. You're out of packaging material. Almost everything is out. You were anyways not planning to stock on quite a bit of RM PM also because you have a March closure, so you are very conservative in the thought process of having the right stocks, finished good closure, and everything has to be done perfectly well. So we did see a major surge in panic buying. Obviously, everything on the shelf, store, warehouse was emptied. All distributors were sitting empty. Everything was sold out. Uh, but from our perspective, obviously, you can only sell something which is already manufactured, right? Uh, which is just at the initial stage of the pre-lockdown. Uh, and that is why it didn't move on. I mean, for us, we were trying to cater as much as we could for people, but it was quite a chaotic situation for us. Uh, Things were selling out. Everything was getting out of stock, left and left out. You were like, everybody wants orders. There are orders everywhere. It was a mess. It was extremely challenging. I mean, it was a drastic result. I mean, it was terrible for us to manage that. However, uh, thanks to the technology which we have invested in the last couple of years before this, uh, I think that has given us an immense advantage during this last couple of weeks as well as the pre-lockdown rush hour. We had set up the entire automated warehousing system uh, way back in 2016, absolutely Industrial 4.0 compliant. That helped us a lot. The technology helped us a lot because you were not having labor, trucks were not coming in, it was a little difficult, but that the entire use of technology helped us a lot. The manufacturing process, I mean, the entire line of manufacturing for us just requires 3 to 4 people for, say, 800 bottles per minute kind of a productivity. That helped us a lot. So whatever we did in terms of the uh, the manufacturing excellence which we had invested in, that started to pay off right at the time when things were not going great.
Right. So technology pays, especially in bad times. So that's an interesting thought. Let me take that thought a little bit further with you, then. So then, during lockdown, obviously, beverages were in the initial part. Beverages were hit the most. But I mean, I know Ocean Beverages as a brand who's been extremely progressive, especially as far as technology, investing in technology, using the latest of the technology as concerned. Having seen that firsthand, uh, and you guys are the first ones to do stuff like direct to consumer or even to retailer applications and stuff like that. So, how was the lockdown period for you after first couple of weeks shocks, and how, if anything, technology helped you? I know that Ocean uses auto replenishment. I think for years now. I mean, if not months. I mean, where a lot of brands just think about auto replenishment. You guys have been using that for years. How does it work for you? And how did the technology help at all during this whole pandemic situation, like Pradeep mentioned, or was it not much relevant for you?
So, I mean, okay, so I'll take a few minutes over here just to kind of, set things in terms of a context. Yeah. So, obviously, after the first couple of weeks and everything shut down, it was a complete shock to obviously the entire system, the manpower, etc., being not a priority product. It was a threat to their livelihood. So, obviously, a lot of leadership, one on ones. But what we did with the sales team, obviously, is the first thing we realized that we had the Salesforce automation, which we've been working with Bizom with for the last several years. We obviously, the first thing we did was we deployed telecalling. Yeah, so we deployed the telecalling feature immediately on SFA. That initially helped us to start essentially capturing orders. Uh, uh, so we started getting orders and our distribution channels. Let me just explain to you our distribution channels. We also work 4 different channels: general trade, modern trade, e-com, and on-premise. Um, On-premise as a business, as we know, bars, restaurants completely shut down and obviously are not even open as on today as we speak. Modern trade, the good thing for us is that the orders kept coming through because obviously there was a demand for the products and we were able to service that and we keep servicing that. However, the big challenge was the supply lines. Yeah, the supply lines shut down because all our distributors essentially shut shop on 2 accounts. Number one, they didn't have permits. Second thing is they didn't have warehouses. Sorry, in the sense they didn't have the manpower to manage those warehouses and deliver the stock. So what we did a complete business review. We spent a lot of time in that after the first 2 weeks doing a lot of primary, secondary research, talking to companies, looking at what's happening in Europe, China, etc. And we also looked at our group portfolio, okay? Because as a group, not too many people know this, as the Narang Group, we also do several other products like water, tea, chocolates, coffee, etc. And we suddenly started to basically get insights. And this was the key thing to us. And we started breaking the insights into 2 pieces because that was the way we decided to move forward. We decided, let's look at demand insights, which is what's happening with the consumer. And we said, let's look at the supply insights, what's happening in terms of how we're getting this product out there. And the key insights for phase one, which was like what you guys, and we've seen this, we saw that consumers were stocking up on essentials, fresh foods, panic buying, quarantining themselves with personal care stuff, online ordering. We saw a lot of online ordering happening, this thing, and they stopped eating out. Yeah, they stopped spending, going out. But during the lockdown, which is that after those first 15 days, suddenly the consumer insights started being proactive, health minded. They wanted to buy healthier products, something for immunity, functionality, protect themselves at home. So we saw people wanting to buy vitamin supplements, vitamins, minerals, etc., glucose, home delivery, which we all used to consider as a free for all, had suddenly become a convenience paid for service, and consumers now are ready to pay for it, which is amazing. And we saw multiple modes of ordering. I guess each of us, including all of y'all, would have now 10 apps on your phone and 10 phone numbers to call for groceries. I mean, it became literally that. And people were ready to pay for quality. So when we took these insights, we broke our portfolio down and we noticed that in our group portfolio, we actually saw a lot of demand for water, which is just basic water, tea, coffee. And this is what happened because these were essential categories. And then in the 2 weeks post that, we suddenly started seeing demand for nutritional products that we have. So, for example, our juices, our flavored waters, because they have vitamins, they have glucose, they have minerals. And this is what started to happen. The third phase, based on global data, what we're now getting, which is coming out from Europe and China and stuff like that, is once the consumer has basically stocked up with the essentials and starts buying all the immunity nutritional stuff, they will start now obviously saying, you know what, I need something to indulge myself. And that's where suddenly now we're seeing slowly threads of demand for our chocolates, because people want to buy chocolates at home and want to consume chocolates as exotic. They want our bar mixers because alcohol, you're stuck at home. Energy drinks. So that's the third phase that we see, which is the indulgence phase. So we took a few actions concretely. A few actions in terms of consumer. We obviously stopped the media spends. I mean, those were concrete steps. Trade marketing, we stopped our investment. But the key ways of how we went about it were, we said we have two challenges. We're getting orders now, but we're not able to fulfill because the supply lines have collapsed. So as a team, we worked on some action points and said, how can we come up with ways to fulfill? And there were 2-3 ways that we came up with this. One way, obviously, was working with our current distributors and saying, you know what, let's get the permits. Let's help you get the permits because they were not able to do it themselves. So we engaged with them, helped them to get the permits by getting some clearances. We're not got all of them, but we're at least at 20-30% of that. For distributors who were not able to get the permits, we started direct store delivery. That means we were picking up the product from essentially either our warehouses and supplying to modern trade, or we were picking up the products from distributors who could open the warehouse but not supply by working with bulk delivery companies like Delivery. So we did a couple of pilots with Delivery the last couple of weeks, and that's really helped because now they're able to deliver our product to retailers. And then we also looked at single point delivery as well. And single point delivery, we started working with B2B single point deliveries like the Swiggies and the Zomato and Dunzo, which can pick up from point A and deliver to point B. Obviously, there are weight restrictions with those solutions, but at least it enables the product to move from the distributor to the retailer. And obviously, it makes sense for high value. So fulfillment for us became the key. But obviously, at the same time, there was a massive thing that happened with regard to how would retailers even get the product because we were not able to cater to the demand. And we opened up a lot of alternative online modes of supplying. So we started talking to Reliance Jio because they were started supplying to retailers directly themselves. We started engaging with the Udans of the world. And even local marketplaces, which were listing stores. So, whether it's the Love Locals, we're talking to the Jumbo Tails, the Kirana King. So these are local store market listing places. Obviously, everyone has done the Swiggies and the Zomato store listings. But all of these things certainly helped us to actually cater to that demand in the last couple of weeks. And therefore, we're seeing now better numbers in terms of all our products, whether it is beverages or chocolates and stuff like that. So this is what pretty much has transpired to kind of answer your question of what's happened.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I mean, I think that is you answered it quite interestingly. So, few of the things obviously I know. I think we work together on the logistics related partnerships together. A couple of small, quick follow up questions on that. I hear you guys were the first ones to get e-passes in Mumbai. What was the algorithmic jugaad behind that?
I know. Well, the answer to that is simple. I know a guy.
You know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah. But on a serious note, no. We had to engage. We work very closely with the Indian Beverage Association. We're part of the association. They helped us with obviously securing the right amount of government communication, and then obviously working with the local authorities in Mumbai, etc. So that helped us with the permits. And definitely so that was the first thing in Mumbai, but we struggled in the other places. However, now Delhi, Bangalore, we're slowly able to to start securing some of these permits moving forward with the whole communication from the government of essential packaged food and beverages.
Right. One other small follow-up question on the things that you mentioned. Out of all so I think this is something that will be fairly interesting for audience as well. So we talked about getting that logistics between distributor and retailer, especially when distributor is not doing logistics. And you mentioned, and I think I know a little bit about it because we worked on these things together. You mentioned about trying to do deliveries through Swiggy and Dunzo and delivery itself. Which one of those channels actually worked for you the best so far?
So far, the bulk deliveries obviously has been with delivery because obviously they can deliver to multiple retailers, pick up from the DP point or pick up from your warehouse and deliver to multiple retailers on the same day within the next 4 to 5 hours. I mean, every second day. For us, Zomato, which is regard to point delivery, which is just pick up one large order worth 10,000 or 20,000, deliver to a single A-class retailer, that as well has really worked. So I would say these are the two that have so far really worked. Swiggy for us has worked more as a market, more as a Swiggy store where consumers could buy the product, more B2C. But from a B2B fulfillment perspective, it's been delivery and Zomato so far, which we have tried and we've had some amount of success. We're talking to Dunzo as well right now, and hopefully we can go online by next week.
All right. No, that's phenomenal. That's useful. Thanks, Ed. Okay, let me come to you, Pradeep. So Pradeep, what's in your business as we see? I mean, it's primarily north of India. I think that's the primary distribution for Belkolu and Narishko. Now in Delhi, obviously we are almost back during that whole lockdown and other stuff. We are almost back, and obviously all of us are experiencing larger drop sizes. Even if lesser number of stores are open, you are seeing larger drop sizes. I think Delhi for us has done phenomenally well, but not so much. And UK, I think Uttarakhand is done quite okay as well, but not so much UP. And what's on with UP and what's on with Delhi? I mean, Delhi has higher cases, but still retail is open, and UP is strange. What's with that?
See, there is the basic difference here in that data size comes is Lalit, because we cater to around roughly around 540 odd towns, which which we are looking at. Major reason has been that if you look at say Punjab has been in absolute lockdown. It's absolutely difficult to reach out there. One, it has taken us practically, if when we had to send it across one truck to Amritsar, practically it reached them in 7 to 8 days from Bareilly,
Hmm.
and that was very complicated there. In UP, the thing is, uh, most of the distributors they were operational partially, in the sense they would open up say between 6 to 8 a.m.
Hmm.
and the rural retail and town level deliveries, the small town deliveries which we were earlier catering to, were impossible to do. So what the distributor was trying to do was open up a store, and he was letting his warehouse open between 6 to 8. The retailers used to come and take the stock. It is an essential commodity, it's something not which he can just demand. I mean, at this times, for him it is equally important for his outlet to be stocked. Whichever retailer which we wanted to cater to, who was taking 2 to 3 cases, 4 cases, the distributor had absolute reluctance to reach there, which we were trying to do manually ourselves. So the sale size is always smaller with these people. But then, if you look at the larger sale size and the larger kitty, it was directly being catered by the distributor itself. So, on the secondary sale perspective, yes, the numbers would drop drastically in UP, and it would be completely high in Delhi because of the organized and unorganized market.
Right.
But if you look at the actual sale figures, perhaps Delhi would remain where it is, and UP would have slightly taken a higher jump, obviously because of logistical reasons of all the other competitors as well, where it is difficult for them to reach UP, and we are much better placed in UP. So if you look at volumes primary wise, yes, primary UP has done much better. Secondary sales, there would be definitely be a strong dip. It is difficult. I mean, the more rural you go, the more difficulties arise. It's more complicated. You have a local level Thana Tehsildar guy who just doesn't care what the directive of essential commodities is. It just doesn't matter to him. Uski lathi chalni hai, he'll just put that lathi across. He said, no, I don't know. You don't have the passes or whatever it is. So small rural area wise, the more it was much more challenging for us, and that is where we are more strongly focused upon right now. Because everything else, when you can manage in Delhi, we have so many channel partners together. As Denver was mentioning, you can liaison with people. You have Zomato, Swiggy, you have small beer companies who are trying to get in passes, who are trying to help you deliver. The vehicle sizes are being managed somehow. Essential commodities is moving in, but in rural, it is absolutely difficult, and I think that is one area where the maximum demand still obviously exists, but that is one area where we have not been able to penetrate. Most of the companies have had difficulties in reaching out to those areas.
I know, and I think sometime back, just a follow-on question to that. Sometime back in the previous segment about pre-COVID, you mentioned about how you have been visionary throughout the journey as far as the technology is concerned. And I know you guys actually launched new technologies even during lockdown. I
Yeah.
mean, this is phenomenal, guys, because I think every one of us is struggling with just day to day managing day to day supplies. And actually, Pradeep and his team launched new technologies during the lockdown to kind of help the retailers to place orders or us to get supplies in place. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, first of all, how were you so adventurous or so bold step to actually launch a new product during the lockdown? And how was it? How did it help you at all, or how did it work for you?
See, the moment we had been actually looking at this scenario since almost a month, a month in advance, we knew that this is going to be a pandemic. It is bound to reach us sooner or later. Uh, though we could not predict, but symptoms were easily available worldwide. You could we were obviously monitoring that as well constantly. At the same time, we realize that this is something which is a requirement for everyone. If we are able to, in these times, if we are able to reach out to people, this is what will be remembered. This is where we will be. If you have a team which can move out today, though there are risks, but then take it as a, it is not as a, uh, don't take it as a brand building cost, but take it as a social service cost. Let's do something at this time and we will be remembered, and then that is when we will take a look at it, whether we are building a brand or not. But as of now, let us start catering to people, because everybody is going to have a shortage on this. We knew that, I mean, 1 week during the lockdown we were already running short of everything. There was no mustard, there was no packaging material coming in. All the packaging material suppliers are based in, say, Bombay or Delhi, and it was already, they were all on shutdown. No, I mean, the back end was absolutely stopped. So even if you do have a manufacturing facility permissions, you don't have labor and you don't have the packaging material. So you are still stuck, and plus you don't have the raw material coming in. So the idea was to just keep on hanging on to these the core products which we have, because that was more essential, because this has to be delivered. Um we worked with the local administration in getting the atta and other categories done, because there was a major shortage of atta. The first thing that people did was hook on to atta as a category. So we tried to do a little bit of local sourcing from atta so that make it reach. Uh, at the same time, from technology perspective, Bizom, obviously we worked a lot with Bizom, and we were pushing your team constantly to ensure that the Distiman thing is live and up and running.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we moved to the telecalling, which Denver was mentioning, that the first week was telecalling week, but we said no, this is not this. You can't reach people just by telecalling, and this is not something which can. You have 55,000 retailers to cater. Even in telecalling, you will tend to miss out. You plan it, you will have wrong numbers, you will have all the data glitches which you just hanged on and kept in your table for the last couple of years will come out now. And you can't correct it now at this stage. So we moved on with the Distiman thing. We moved on with the website for ordering. We moved on with the home deliveries, whatever the cost. If there is a product and it has to reach the client, it just doesn't matter. I mean, if there is one person who wants a Balconu oil in the 5-6 states where we are covering, uh, whatever the cost may be, the guys are trying to reach there somehow, some way. Whenever there is an opening, we try to go there and we try to deliver it at the place. So this is what the entire team is today working and struggling upon. So the website went on, the store went on, the online portal went on, Distriman was started.
Absolutely. No, no, real awe and congratulations for to you for that. And as I said, it was really fast moving team in general, and really visionary and banking on technology. So KM, I wanted to come about to you the last in this particular section, simply because you actually or Unibic is a rock star in this situation, especially because what we see is Unipic. When the entire industry was going down, while you did not see panic buying, Unipic sales have actually grown in last 3-4 weeks, as we see, right? In the first week of lockdown, when the retail outlet open were only 10 to 15%, you guys had actually increase in sales in your key territories like Karnataka, for example, right? You must have some secret sauce with all your experience and your amazing team. And obviously, technology is one part, but apart, I mean, what exactly did you guys do? I mean, what was that? What is that you have? Can you share it with all of us? We also want to, all of us want to grow our skills in lockdown period.
See, my answer is going to be the same, probably what Pradeep and Denver has talked about. And in fact, in your question, the answers were already given. So it's basically team and technology. So both T worked in our favor. Okay. Honestly, in our case, it was not so necessarily required for our people to talk about that, something. If we do today a good work, it's basically nothing but serving society. People got up their self. So we have a strong around, I call them a 10 leaders team, okay, which are there across India. They work day and night to understand that how we are going to fight it back. Karnataka was being our home ground. That's where it all started and then slowly picked up in all other markets. So we had in Karnataka, we had the control on direct distribution, and some of our partners who are there on transportation as well as the porter. I would definitely mention the name of Porter here. They helped us out big time in terms of delivering wherever we wanted. We had our warehouses with all the government rules. So we had our warehouses working 24 bar 7. We arranged the possibly arrange the all passes. We have our head of HR. He took a pain to ensure that passes are being arranged. Respective regional managers arrange the passes for the wherever best possible they could do. They arrange the passes for the local team, and that's how all it started. So once you see one guy is doing and contributing to society, the other will get up automatically, and slowly and steadily you see that the whatever we had, we are able to sell it. We have issues in production, which is bound to be because of shortage of labor and shortage of other things. But whatever we are able to manage, we are able to manage at such no issue. Bangalore being our direct control on last mile distribution has helped us. Okay, where again technology, we call it Bizom, such has played a critical role. So we knew exactly which retailer, what they wanted, how they wanted. So we picked up the right guys. We knew that we are not going to it'll be difficult for us to service 100%. So we said, okay, in each locality, can we pick up 5, 7, 10 stores and see if we can deliver them. So at least the entire locality will have our product, and if not our, something else. If somewhere we found the stocks of other competitors, strong and good competitor like Britannia, ITC, Parle were available, we said, you are having those stocks, let us service it to other outlets. Because the idea was not to go and ride on them. Idea is to see that can all of us, the 3-4 large player, can all of us be equally available to every possible retailer, so that the it's equally distributed. So the idea was not to ride on, if competition is not there, you go and ride on them. But the idea was, if competition is there, let's avoid that store and go to the store where competition is not able to reach, and how you can manage the equal distribution of biscuits across. See, philosophically, if you see, before lockdown and after lockdown, what has changed? So in normal, the before lockdown, the normal society where you go office, come back. Normally in a day, in a week, you have 21 food times. You eat food 21 times, and tea probably 14 times. Tea or the snacking is 14 times. So total put together around 35 times. When you go normal for your office or outside, and especially in cities like all large cities where people go out or tend to go out, your half of your consumption is outside home. That actually after lockdown has gone to literally zero, because you are not going to office, you are not going out for food, and you are actually avoiding the food from Swiggy, Zomato, because of various issues which have been there. You are actually avoiding. So what you are doing, you are actually pressurizing your own, housewives or yourself to cook the food and eat. That's not going to happen. So you need something ready to eat, where you just have a cup of tea and dip it and eat it. Probably the biscuit is the best choice. So from want we moved into need. Now, once you move into need, the stock is going to be a big challenge, definitely, because today you are catching the whole consumption. Out of 35 consumptions are available with you. Out of which now earlier, if in a week cookies were there or biscuits were there for let's say 7, 8 consumption or 10 consumption, has gone to around 14 to 15 consumption. Where you are avoiding your lunch or probably your dinner and having it a tea biscuit or something, because finally, if you have to cook, you have to wash utensils, you have 100 things to do in home. Okay, and you can't rely just on your wife or on your mother or on your sister to do that. You have to contribute. And knowing us, instead of contributing, we'll find out the easy solution. In fact, in Maggie also you have something to wash and clean. So
Yeah.
biscuit is bound to go up. So that's how the biscuit is moving. And for us, in terms of the voice is echoing somewhere. So for us, thanks to whatever we could service, along with other large players, we have tried our best and will be trying our best.
No, absolutely. So I think couple of things for me to take away in this entire discussion, and I wanted to come with one follow-up question for that. So what is this Bizome Search? I mean, for the audience who doesn't know why you call it such, why do you call Bizome Search? And I know the story, but I would like the larger audience to hear the such wala story.
So for us, when we started with the Bizom, we realized it is so the whole idea of starting Bizom was not to track people and not to find out what they are not doing. We were anyways knowing it what they are not doing. Okay, sales guys are, if you can get 50% out of them, that's the best you can have it. If you have a 80%, then you have my team, which is the 10 stars which are there around us. If you can get 80%, and if you're 100%, you're Britannia. Okay, so it's like that. So we said, okay, this platform probably will give us the truth of distribution, truth of coverage, truth of availability, truth of depth, truth of width. So that's how we named it such, and we kept calling it such.
Yes, absolutely.
That's how it's
No, very, very interesting. Well done. So, by the way, I don't know, you talked about competition stores, KM, but to be brutally honest with you, when I walk down for my groceries, the only biscuits I see there are Unibic. I don't see Britannia or Parle anymore. So, you guys have done phenomenally, at least in Bangalore, in the areas nearby to us.
So we choose where they are not there. Where they are there, they are there.
No, no, absolutely, and that has worked phenomenally well. And congratulations, and thanks for ensuring some biscuits. And as you correctly said, and I have 2 kids at home, and they need cookies. So thanks for doing that. Other interesting things that you talked about, especially about logistics. I think you talked about Porter, and Denver talked about delivery as a channel partner working in. For the audience who's listening in, we actually have created a small Telegram group where people share some of those insights in terms of what innovations they are doing on a day-to-day basis in this space. I think one of my team members would share it on a chat, the link to that, but joining that Telegram group. I think if you want to know some of those innovations, not just technology, I think technology innovations, you can get in touch with any of us and we will help you with. But non-technology innovations or the things to share between all industry leaders, that Telegram group is fairly active and fairly useful in doing that. So do join it if you can. So great. So we all talked about technology. We talked about the truth coming out. We talked about data-driven decision making and stuff like that. Let's start and try and put in shortly. I think we are running out of time. So let's shortly try and grasp what your views about future are. I mean, I think when we were discussing backstage, I think we kind of agreed that this is not a 1 month thing or this is not a 2 month thing. The kind of we are in this world right now. So very difficult to say whether this is the recovery is going to be V or U or W or multiple Ws. So there are like multiple questions about that. But how are you looking at the future, the uncertain way it is, and what are you doing to prepare for it? Both from a technology point of view and from keeping your supply chains and production and other stuff point of view. we will start with you, Pradeep, if we may. So, what are you guys doing with respect to keeping that for future in general, both from technology point of view and from real, supply chain and production and other stuff point of view?
See, as you rightly said, Lalit, this is the new normal, and this will remain. What we see today is normal now, and this will remain the future for the coming days for sure. I mean, I hope not. But the truth is that it will remain. We may keep on having one or the other areas on a lockdown. There will be red zones happening around us constantly, and this is how we need to operate, and this is how we need to keep working upon. What we feel is that the delivery models which we have been trying to work upon, wherein everybody would now like to order whatever they want, through this one, through that. Because earlier, pre-lockdown era, people wanted everything from a single source, right? That was the truth, that was the fact. But when you find that such places are not able to deliver everything, people now are starting to specifically choose. I want this, and where can I get it from? And this is what a change is, which we anticipate. And so we need to work on that. Continue the app and the web stores and the delivery models, the home delivery, which is directly, something which we were not even B2B earlier. Imagine having for last 40 years working through the factory premises, and whoever wants pays advance and takes the truck away, to a place where now we are talking about B2C, which is like many miles extra walk for us. 2 years back, perhaps when we started this journey, we wouldn't have thought that this is what we will do, but this is how it is. And we feel that we will keep focusing upon the end delivery models, not so that we are bypassing our retailer partners, but through them as well. But the idea is just to do last mile. Concentrate on it, ensure that the product is available, you are able to spread it out, you are able to reach to more and more number of people, you are able to connect with them. Finally, when you are trying to talk about the quality of a product, you are trying to, I mean, the entire thought process for us has been that we would like to bring to masses something which they have forgotten or they have not been eating since last couple of decades, which has gone down in the streams of adulteration over a period of time. And I think this is the right platform if you are able to reach directly to the end consumer and speak to him and tell them that, okay, this is what we try to do. Though we couldn't think of it earlier, but then this is what has shown us that yes, this is how it has to be. This is where we would like to be, and this is where we would like to use the technology advantages in future.
Right. So, I mean, just a small follow-up question on this, Pradeep. So, do you think this technology has helped you to be nimble, or I mean, because of this those uncertainty that is going on, does technology is the only thing that helps you to be nimble and agile as an organization? Is there anything else that you are doing to be nimble and agile? I mean, I think apart from technology, it's also how people use the technology, right? I mean,
Yes,
you can have all the world's technology, but if people
exactly.
don't believe in technology,
See,
that's going to be very hard, right?
see, whether you are sitting on tons and tons of data is not the sense.
Correct.
You need to decipher it, you need to move it, and you need to use it.
Yeah.
So, uh, though people can be intuitive, visionaries, uh, you can have futuristic thoughts and you can move ahead of the curve, everything is fine. But finally, you need some certain pivotal data points which you need to utilize, right? So, the technology which we are, the way we use it, the way we decipher it, and the way we utilize it is what becomes extremely critical, specifically, and this is what gives you the strength. So perhaps, I mean, just a blank example on production and production excellence. India labor is cheap. We could have used, I mean, We were sitting in Bareilly. We could have used the same standard thought process of manufacturing edible oil. But we went ahead and we invested in a high-end system which was end-to-end automated. It paid off today. I mean, there was no better time than this. If I have to manufacture that kind of a capacity, I would perhaps need 1,000, 1,200 people to drive it. We would have been, we would have been blank right now had it not been the technology usage there.
No, no,
Same
absolutely.
place, same place, you look at the difference which comes in. One of our lines is down. It has a remote monitoring and diagnostic system on it. So in this time, you can't have people traveling.
Yeah,
So that helps.
absolutely.
Same way on this data which we have on terms of retail sales, which we are doing, the secondary sales which we are doing, the retailer information everybody has. But what he is going to buy, when he is going to buy is now our time.
Absolutely.
And that's where the technology gives us the advantage.
Absolutely. So knowing, I think KM mentioned that as well, and you mentioned it again. So who's going to buy and when is he going to buy and what is he going to buy is actually how you utilize technology, not just to make that decision. Actually, one brand I know who's been doing that for years is Ocean. So then the next one comes to you. So like I mean, I think we generally can consensus and agree that for future technologies or data information is going to be important for us to be nimble, quick decisions, and all of that. But one of the questions, and I think this is something Narang Group in general and Ocean as a specific thing, you guys have this a great. I mean, from top to bottom, and I work with multiple teams across you, but you guys have this phenomenal way of the belief in the team with respect to data technology, the information, the data driven decision making as we call it. How did you guys go about actually getting the organization to get move from a previous gut based decision making to a data based decision making overall? How did you guys manage to do that, and especially how is it going to be relevant for future? For what do you think?
So, yeah, thanks, Lalit, for the question. So I'm going to just answer the question in two parts. Obviously, the first part, to answer your first part of your question in terms of how do we move, it's taken years working with you and training the team and the sales rep, and it's every day. Have you complied, and is there compliance and stuff like that? So it's taken years to do that, and obviously it's paying off today. Where I mean, we don't have to be asking the guy what he's doing, like what Karthikeya said. It's all about assisting him to just do better in the market and to help him with that and support him with that data. So I guess that the philosophy has to work top down. Only then it works all the way to the bottom, and it works. With regard to the new ways of working, and I'm again, I'm gonna make it very very contextual in terms of what we've seen. So two three key insights that we've seen so far now for phase 3, which is all about the new normal, like what Pradeep talked about, home delivery with social distancing. Yeah, that is the way of life. And that's the reason why the Alibabas of the world became so big in China, and we see today's news of Reliance and Facebook and WhatsApp, etc. So that's going to be massive. Second key insight is inclusiveness. Yeah, social distancing is also going to cause consumers to build their own community, social media, chats, WhatsApp. You no longer want to talk about globalization. You want to talk about what's important for me and for my community and stuff like that, right? So marketing is also going to change in terms of that. And I think a third piece, which a lot of us have to work on, is packaging. Bulk buying you touched upon, but there is a massive trend happening right now. What we've seen with consumers who do not want to touch the packaging of the product coming into their house because of the contamination fear. And I think a lot of companies will have to work now on primary and secondary packaging in order to ensure that when the primary packaging comes, it's ripped off, and then the consumer or whatever it keeps the secondary thing. So, I mean, this is going to be a big thing which companies will have to relook at. And what Pradeep also talked about, automatic packaging is very, very important, because then you're talking about that zero touch and stuff like that. So key insights over there, which how does that impact in terms of the consumer and the retailer? I think the very, very important thing for us, we are seeing a blurring of lines. Blurring of lines means that retailers and consumer ordering technology is going to basically crisscross against retailers and consumers. Pradeep talked about B2B, B2C, D2C. We talked about B2, R2, C2. So, I mean, every company is trying to fulfill every leg of the chain. Yeah. And what's important now as companies, yeah, and this is what our key actions that we are focusing on. Number one, how do you capture and fulfill this demand now from this consumer? How? Because the consumer has 10 different ways to buy. This is what even Pradeep talked about. Yeah. And mapping this consumer journey for each and every product, for example, that we do is very, very important. Whether today he wants to buy it from a grocery or today he wants to buy a general convenient product even from pharmacies. Today, pharmacies like NetMeds and PharmEasy are selling grocery products. And we're working and talking to them. So we're working with the on-ground guys as well. So he wants to buy from there. He wants to buy D2C. That means the when he comes home, DMart as a chain is now taking the product into societies. Spencer's is delivering to the consumer at their houses. We haven't so far built our D2C home, but I think Pradeep, I'm going to call you separately for some inspiration on that one. But yeah, but in terms of the stuff that's happening, it's amazing, and companies are going across the board. So if I want to keep things simple. I think the game we used to all understand, which is something called omni-channel marketing. The game now, guys, has changed to omni-channel distribution. If you didn't realize it before, it's time to wake up because it's everywhere. Yeah, consumer, retailer, crisscross, and technology like, for example, Disneyman, etc. That also we're looking to roll out now is also going to help us capture that. But it's not only Disneyman; it's all these different touch points that we need to get to, and and for us, I think where we've with the leadership team, we've also had a thought. Do we need to organize our sales structures in the normal way that we were in terms of general trade or modern trade or on premise, in terms of the classical structures? Or do we reorient our structures in terms of B2B servicing or B2C servicing or D2C servicing? Because then you organize your teams and your key account managers and stuff like that. So for us, omni-channel marketing, omni-channel distribution, that's the way forward. And to keep things going, and digital and technology will help just support that.
All right. So omni-channel distribution, very very interesting term. One specific question, if I may ask you, then, how do you think that schemes are going to evolve? The trade marketing is evolving, as you see. I mean, we run things like QPS and other stuff, but now this whole buying patterns are changing. So this month end is now changing to become the whole month. How do you see that impacting your scheme structures and other stuff?
So, to be very honest with you, we've actually reduced schemes, obviously, keeping in mind everyone in terms of companies, in terms of cash flow and cost measures, etc. But that's not impacting sales today. Today, the key concern for retailer and consumer, and I talked about this earlier, is can you get me the product? Can you get it delivered to me? I'm ready to pay for that additional even 50 rupees convenience to bring it to my house or to bring it to my shop. So we're reducing trade schemes. We're investing it back now in terms of the route to market where it's required in order to get the product there. I think the last mile is where the investment needs to go now.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks for that then. Okay. So last but not the least, let me come back to you, KM, for some of the closing remarks in terms of understanding the future, but also how do you see the sales teams in FMCG evolving in this age of being contactless and stuff like that? How do we need to evolve? So we then talked about distribution evolving, talked a little bit about scheme evolving. How do you see the future of COVID? And maybe you can also touch upon how do you see the sales team and their work evolving going forward?
Okay, see, as far as COVID and such issues are concerned, we honestly have a little idea of what is going to happen. Just watching the world, we know that it is going to take for some more, days or months. So instead of what is our approach, instead of getting prepared of what is going to happen tomorrow and how we are going to handle it, we'll see it tomorrow itself. Okay, let's do what we can do best today. Okay, let's take care of our people today and be agile, be ready. Since we were agile, we were able to react within 3 or 4 days of the situation. Okay,
Right.
yes, there is going to be a new normal. There is going to be few things which is going to be changed, But thanks to being in FMCG, and that too in food, and that too in almost essential category, you have a slight advantage. Any challenge which comes on overall economy, this is the last where it is going to hit. That's one. As far as our business team is concerned, we call it business team. Our business team is concerned, our first job have been so far is to take care of them. So, whoever is there, wherever, we keep issuing the guideline to them, from the first guideline of having mask, hand sanitizer in your pocket, washing your hands in every 10 minutes, and keeping distance, no handshakes. From that to today, if you still are not comfortable going out, if family is pressurizing of not going out, don't go out, take care of things on phone. Okay, if whatever best you can take care. Okay, and ensuring them that their salaries are coming on time. So these things are for the today's scenario. And in coming days, let's see how it comes. Okay, but we will find it, like, again, as I said, being in food, okay, you would be required, and you would be required more and more. In fact, I definitely see a lot more talent and coming back to FMCG and to the food, okay, who has gone out. Talent includes the partners, talent includes the distributors, talent includes the someone who would like to invest. We have already started getting queries of people who have gone and taken or started initiated some of the consumer durable showrooms and all. They're saying, this is something which, whether we will learn or we don't, it's better we invest back into FMCG and the food. So that's started. That's already, there are a couple of queries which we're working at. So for our field, and for FMCG space and food space, even in the challenging time, we will have, being into necessity, we will definitely have some of the advantages of having good people with us. And that's about it. That's people are being taken care, as usual. They've been taken care. We are, maybe we are one of the few companies where we have a term insurance for everybody in our team. Okay, and that too is sizable. So it's like, if any eventuality or anything happens to anyone, okay, it's being taken care in company. And that's not because of COVID. Otherwise itself, we started this system from now 1.5 year. Okay, so those things are being taken care as a practice itself.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. So wonderful insights. So my summary from that whole stuff was, obviously, from all those three things that you mentioned, you need to be agile and to be prepared. To be agile and prepared, you need to have technologies to allow you to quick decision making, data driven, and stuff like that. You need to partner. I think one of the common theme that I heard from all of you is that how you guys are partnering with other stakeholders in the market to be successful. I think it would be an interesting thought if we actually can form a community of all the people together, where we are sharing the best practices, especially in today's time. So I think some of you are already on that group. I think all of you can come onto that and share best practices. That will be wonderful as well. Other interesting thing that I noted was D2C as a coming thingy. We obviously are doing something on D2C as well, so let's collaborate on that too and figure out how that would shape up to be. Now, before I open for questions and read through some of the questions, I think we have an amazing audience today. So anybody from the audience wanted to share something, some of their own inputs, especially with respect to how they are solving today's problem, that is today getting your stuff to consumer in a ways that are different than what our panel already mentioned. Please raise your hand, and then Akshay, you might want to let them come on the stage and say a couple of words for a couple of minutes. So anybody from the audience who wants to share some of their insights before we come to Q&A? Please just raise your hand, and then Akshay will let you on. Otherwise, I'll start first with the questions in the chat, and then later go to the. Okay, we have a raised hand. Akshay, will you let Rahul in?
मैं यार वीडियो कॉल में हूँ.
Yeah, Rahul, you wanted to say something?
Hello.
Yeah, you wanted to say something, Rahul?
Yeah. I want to say, because I'm a sourcing lead at Indore Shop Kirana e-trading company. So it's a B2B e-commerce. So in current scenario, we are managing the supplies from our mobile app, and some of the distributors and the suppliers are supplying the stock, and we are focusing currently on the food essentials like oil, ghee category, atta, cereals, pulses, and spices and salt. So we are doing the supplies in Indore, in Bhopal, in Jaipur, in Agra, Meerut, Lucknow, Ahmedabad, and Surat. So
Perfect.
that's how.
So amazing, Rahul. So that is, thank you for that information. I think it is useful for all the brands which are present here. So please
Yeah.
note, guys. Shop Kirana, you said, or
Shop Kirana.
Yes.
Yes.
Shop Kirana is available to distribute your products in Indore, Bhopal, and Jaipur. Rahul, please join the Telegram group as well. There are a lot of people who are looking or asking for questions. You can inform them there as well for that particular. Right. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Anyone else who has any other insights to share? I'll go with the questions panel on the whole stuff. I'm just going through some of them. Some of them are already answered. Some of them we cannot answer. For example, somebody said, "What do you think will happen with bicycle industry?" If any one of you have I think we have a panel which is from packaged food, commodities, and beverages. But you guys are feel free to take a shot at thinking about bicycle industry as well. Uh, if you any one of you have, yeah, go on.
Just a small, the way we are actually locked down at home, that is something which we'll have to do in any case.
Exactly. We'll have to figure out contactless bicycles, maybe. I don't know. But yes. Companies face problems, supply chain ability to deliver to problem, retailers not used to some of the specs change, what is use, supply chain interrupted. Okay. All right. So I think in the chat group, I don't have many questions. So audience, do you have any specific questions you wanted to ask? Please raise your hand now. Okay, this was fairly interesting. I think Denver touched upon it a little bit. This was a question from Sheji from Racetrack, racetrack.ai. So his question was, guys, while we are talking about businesses, can we also touch upon how we are looking at minimizing transmission, and will this not become key factors in bringing confidence among consumers? So what do you think? How do you think, as a brand, what are we any specific changes you guys are thinking about or doing right now to minimize transmission? Any one of you, I think, then talk about packaging, but any one of you want to take a shot at it?
See, in our
Yeah,
case,
I'll
for
just
the employees,
Okay, we start with Cave and then we'll come to you, Pradeep. Go on.
Yeah,
see, in our case, with the employees, we have already said from day one, the new norms are being set. Okay, so like I'm sitting in office and my mask is there with me. I'm not using it because I'm talking to you guys. So, those simple norms are there. So I think it's especially for this disease, the distancing is important. Okay. As far as packaging, so the vehicle or in fact sanitization across the board, whether it is plant, whether it is office, whether it is vehicle, that's the new norm again. It's a new normal which is happening. But yes, maybe Pradeep can talk about more on essentials, very very essentials. The basic things we are taking care of. Okay.
Right, great. You were saying something, adding something else, Pradeep?
yeah. So basically, I mean, apart from the hygiene practice which we already have in place in the factory, obviously there were a lot of things which we were doing in oil, which was based on the European norms, which was a touch standard higher than the edible oil industry requires in India. But apart from that, that entire process of no touch packaging till it reaches the distributor. Now, from this point, when our team is, they are going out of their way to go to a consumer to serve one bottle of oil, for example. Uh, there are certain things which we have to keep on constantly reminding our team as well as the consumer, because as we all stay in lockdown or whatever the way which we are, this is the new normal which we're talking about. The only place or only area where you are actually going to get something now, if you are maintaining everything safe, is something which you are getting from outside, and that is the essence. Now, that is the key critical area. Obviously, a lot of things which need to be managed at home. Apart from that, the people who are traveling from place to place, lot of standard operating procedures have to be put on. But it is not only putting on, because now it is something everybody knows. Okay, I need to wash my hands. I need to do this. I don't touch. It's not easy to keep on correcting, keep on mentioning, constantly monitoring. That is something which we will have to do as people who are managing this entire thing. We will have to keep on putting things in place where we are constantly reminding them, monitoring them, and uh, I mean, this is one area which a lot of work will have to be done to ensure. I mean, no test deliveries. You can't. Somebody is putting the hand in front of you to take the delivery. It is very natural. We as human that we can't say, no, no, no. I'll keeping it down. I can't hand it over to you. This has to be done. There is no second thought about it.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Okay, this was actually a very specific and so sales associate from Fidelity, Sushant Singh had this question. Will you consider lowering down your product pricing in order to tackle slowdown of the economy? Also, will you be lowering down in marketing expenses in order to exceed sales volume? Again, I think I'd asked this question to Denver sometime back about trade marketing spends. But Kim, do you have a point of view? Will you be lowering prices? Or will you be looking at marketing spend optimization? How would you be doing?
So today in our industry, what has gone, the prices have actually gone up. As far as raw material and packing material cost is concerned, prices have gone up. Now, with that logic, our prices also should have gone up. But because of lockdown and because of challenges, we are not touching any of our prices. We are food for the specific question. Food close to 60% cost is a variable cost which changes every day. Okay, so right now the costs are on the higher side because again, thanks to lockdown, you don't have packing material, you don't have trays, you don't have wrappers, you don't have all these things, and whatever they are trying and doing it is on a very limited resources. So their cost of operation is also going up, so as our prices. But what we have done cautiously, we are not touching any of the prices right now. Okay, on a higher side, so it is same because of this lockdown issue. As far as marketing is concerned, the way of marketing, again, the channel mix may change. So from TV, you may go to digital, or you may go back to TV. Food will have, again, since we deal in food. Food may still have the advertising going on. Okay, depends. Though we as a company right now, normally April, May, June for us is not a peak season, so we don't work on the advertising so much. But the large player, what it looks like, the biggies have not been doing any advertising. So top three players of the company, right, for the industry right now, not into any kind of advertising. Okay, except maybe something on digital platform.
Okay, got it. So, Denver, this question is for you. I'm going to ask you this question. This is about modern trade. From Kia Foods, Sumit Chane asked, a few empty chains are demanding company sales guys. Modern trade chains are asking the company sales personnel, including promoters and merchandisers, to visit stores. Two questions. Are you facing similar demands? And how are you responding to this demand?
So, from our perspective, no, we're not facing this demand as of right now. And also, I'm actually surprised to that certain extent because a lot of modern trade also have now clamped down on the store visit norms. Only 20 people can enter the store at the same time. So, having additional promoters, having additional field force inside the store is not making sense now. It's only about stocking the shelves. So we're really not facing that. For us, the key demand on modern trade is just about supplying. So no, not at this moment. We're not. And like I said, we also as a company have consciously taken a call not to send the team to the market in order to adhere to the whole lockdown that has been issued by the Prime Minister on the 3rd of May. So we're consciously working on that and minimizing that as much as possible. In case of exceptions, we've taken permits for a few people, but not really. We're not going into the stores right now.
Very interesting. Okay, let me ask this question to you, Pradeep. So this one is from Rishabh Agarwal. It says, even last year there were multiple viewpoints pronouncing the death of mom and pop kirana. I mean, you work with rural, and that a lot of it is just mom and pop. So there have been many predictions that I've done about the death of mom and pop in general, right? And going forward, all this situation will lead to. So what in this situation and going forward, how do you see the role of mom and pop? Has been. I mean, obviously on the ground we see them still open and actually serving. How do you see? Do you see how do you see mom and pop doing with respect to e-commerce?
See, we were always against the entire idea of mom and pop stores going out. We never thought so. We were always against this idea, and I think we were right even those days that this is something which is bound to stay. In fact, the mom and pop stores are today the most adaptive they are the fastest in adaptation for how and what the way the markets are moving. More and more counters, more and more mom and pop stores are becoming triple S counters, where they are letting the customer come in, they are making a way to a better retail outlet. And I think their service pattern is increasing. They are doing much better. If I look at certain modern trade outlets, if you need to order today, they are their deliveries are now going from 2 days, 1 day to 7 days. While a mom and pop store even today is the one which is going to give you in next 1 hour, is still delivering to you. So, uh, in fact, mom and pop store today is the best adapted person to give you the last mile delivery today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's why possibly you're investing in digitalizing the mom and pop and actually scaling them up. So absolutely, I agree with that. I think all of us do. But I just wanted to ask you specifically because I know you actually deal with rural mom and pop, not only the urban,
Well,
but
absolutely.
also rural mom and pop. And that that we just never see going on. So okay, one specific question. Actually, this is addressed to you, KM. This is from Praveen Kumar from RST. Just curious to know, what are the top three strategies to make Unibic tenfolds in your tenure? So, what are the top three things? So, he wants to see you become a billion-dollar brand. What are the top three things you are doing?
Okay, when it comes on strategy, the answer will be about strategy. One, lead from the front. Two, nurture good people. Three, take care of good people. That's all. These three things. If you do these three things, you're done.
Yeah, this is something I think all of us share. Build strong teams, and the strong teams will build strong businesses. It's as
Yeah.
simple. Absolutely. No, wonderful. Thanks for being so succinct. Okay, so this is Rahul Johar from DCJ. What is the shift in channel sales contribution we may anticipate between GTMT and ecom? So any one of you can do this. Actually, there are two questions. So first, let's just go with the channel split. Do you see any shift in channel split between GTMT and ecom? I think it's an important thing. Any one of you can pick it up. Uh,
Yes,
uh,
I'll shoot at it. Yes, so there's going to be a big switch, yeah, at least for products of ours, yeah, which is general trade, because modern trade will grow as we see. For us, we do Horeca institution that's completely collapsed, and we all are aware about that. So that will now take a year or more essentially to regain its growth. But there will be a switch from general trade to e-com from a perspective of like what we've already discussed, right? B2B and B2C, because today a retailer, like what Pradeep said, today a retailer is the fulcrum today of of this country. He supplies to the home in an hour. But today he has multiple choices to procure that product. He can procure it from a distributor, he can procure it from a metro, he can procure it from an Amazon, he can procure it from a hyperlocal, etc., etc. So all of these additional different ways that you can procure it are technically what we call e-com and new ways of doing business. And there will be that switch from the traditional way of buying, which is company distributor to the retailer, will start moving to these new ways of procuring.
so actually, there was a similar question below down the line, which was saying, will D2C continue after lockdown as well? I mean, you talked quite strongly about D2C. Will D2C continue even after lockdown? Or is it just a lockdown fad?
Pradeep, I think maybe that's a good one for you.
You know, these, I mean, these situations are extraordinary. And when you say you have to adapt to extraordinary situations, uh, it is very difficult to say what will be the new normal now. But the fact remains that as far as B2C is concerned, this will remain. People will just modify methods of adapting to a new B2C. We might perhaps have we might not be doing ourselves tomorrow, because when the things are normal, we might remove our team from it, come back to the normal standard process of sales. But then something which the client has already become used to will keep on happening. So whether the e-com takes it or the MT takes it or the Kirana store takes it, the overall servicing factor which is modified now will remain, has to remain.
Perfect. Okay. KM, this you can answer very, very interestingly. We'll talk about team. What are the strategies you adopt to help distributors manage their cash flow? Have you seen any difference in distributor cash flow? And what are things you are doing to manage them?
In our case, cash flows are positive for distributor because whatever he is getting cash right now immediately. So things are being better
It's
for
not
him.
even I thought.
And we have we have been communicating and we have been requesting all our distributors not to charge anything extra or anything premium. And if we have identified someone doing it, we have stopped the supplies. Okay, we are not supplying such distributors. But otherwise, in terms of cash flow, it is in today's situation, it is positive for the distributor. So whatever he had, not only our stock, but he had some other food company stocks also. It is by and large over, as long as he's open. If he's not open, we are advising him to take care of the surroundings. At least the houses around itself can buy from him, as long as houses know that he's a distributor and he keeps a food product. So with that logic, the cash flow is positive for distributor. It's good for him, in fact.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I'm going to read out one last question from here. I think we are already past time, and I'm going to allow audience one more question, and then we are going to close this particular this thing. One last question, which is actually a funny one, and that's the reason I'm picking it up. It says, with crude going negative due to demand, is there anything on the same lines with FMCG? Okay, meaning overstock and perishability inducing discounts. And I'll possibly point it to our oil expert here. So like crude, do you see mustard oil also showing some trend similar to crude oil
You know,
and stuff?
this KM had touched upon this topic earlier. I mean, commodities have always worked on a paper thin margins.
Yeah.
There has been 20 to 25% inflation on basic commodities, minimum 20 to 25%, something which is unprecedented. Obviously, it starts from the farmer, it starts from the mandi. The mandi is not getting the product. The Whenever you have a scarcity, anything which is in line to that, whether or not you wholeheartedly don't want to add to an inflation, but the entire process, the vehicle is now charging you double for transporting your product. He is not getting a return ka bhada, for example. So the transportation costs are already gone. Now the transportation costs tomorrow are not going to be perhaps the crude oil ka cost. It is going to be now the driver ka cost and the trip he is trying to make, perhaps, because this is where the scarcity is. So the entire inflation which is happening, though we are trying to reduce, though we are trying to bring it down, uh, in these circumstances, your productivity is down, your efficiencies are down, everything is scarce. The prices will remain a little escalated till normalcy is maintained. Because anything which is produced in a lower level than the 100% capacity has the same cost as 100% capacity.
All right. Okay. Anyone from the audience who wants to ask a question, one last chance to raise a hand now, and I will let you on the stage. There's a background noise somewhere. One of us has a background noise. Okay, I can hear some background noise somewhere. Anyway, doesn't matter. So I think it's my voice who's getting recorded from somebody else's place. Anyway, I hope it's not around me. I don't think so. So anyway, panelists, thank you very much. You were wonderful. I think it took longer than what I was supposed to, and I'm sorry for that. But appreciate you being patient. We had an interesting panel, and now we have a tech problem as well. So apologies for it. But anyway, stay safe, everybody. I hope to interact with you also offline on a social networking group. Thank you very much. I'll close the session from there.